So in theory, I could be a secretary, a highly overqualified secretary, and in all likelihood, I could physically do that.
That is possible. And so I just want to repeat this again because I just turned the recording on, that if you're under 50, you need to prove that you're not able to do any job 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. And that's, that could be a greeter at Walmart, a ticket taker at a movie theater. And so that sounds like a daunting task, yes, but a few things that you need to keep in mind. If you have physical limitations, which it sounds like you do because of your back situation, and you're not able to sit or stand for any period of time, then think about the ability to do those jobs on a full-time basis. And if you're not able to, then that's what we need to be proved. So, for example, let's take the greeter at Walmart. Somebody has to stand in the front of the store there, and if you've got physical limitations and you're not able to stand for more than 15, 20 minutes at a time, and it's excruciating, then that's going to prevent you from doing that job.
Right.
So
on the flip side of that, even sitting down for an 8-hour day, I'm going to feel that tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I even though I can't be overly active. I mean, the surgery was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and it's and they've got me on medication ever since. Also, I want to factor in this. I had a string of personal tragedies and started going to psychiatrist quite a while ago about it, and by quite a while, I mean 13 years, and all kinds of medication and such. I'm wondering how that could factor in. Based on what I've read, it does, but I'm not sure to what extent.
Well, it certainly does, because you have not only do you have physical limitations, you've got psychological limitations, perhaps. I don't know the whole diagnosis. I don't need to.
Right.
So it certainly does, and the fact that you are treated for those, there's medication involved, the impact of those medications on being able to remember, repetitive cognitive tasks, certainly factor into, if you're the greeter at Walmart and you're asked to remember where something is in aisle 3 and you can't because of your situation that you're being treated for. So, right, it does. It's an interesting point you bring up, because a lot of people that take a look at going through the process, they often focus on the primary diagnosis, and there's a lot of other things that are involved that can strengthen their case. Yeah.
I obviously would need professional documentation and support from my arsenal of doctors. Is that pretty much all that I would need? I'm sure that progress notes and a case history from my psychiatrist, as well as from the surgeon and the ongoing pain management doctor. Is that really the extent of what I need to gather?
That's the extent of what you need to gather. You'll also be asked, the medications that you take,
Sure.
the frequency, the doses, and there'll be other information that is in the application process about your work history, and then there'll be, we're going to go through today. I'll walk you through the mini course. There'll be likely questionnaires that you'll be asked, work history questionnaires, daily living questionnaires, but nothing to place the initial application. If you're going to, whoever does it, whether you do it by yourself with our course, or whether you have somebody do it for you, getting all the medical records, especially the treatment history in the last 12 months, which is the most important, is the key. And then communicating what's in those records in your application and expressing the limitations is what you do with that information.
Right, speaking their language, I think, is the phrase you used.
Right.
Okay, and something from last time, and again, I told you all the difficulties from hearing it. There was reference to when an attorney should be brought into the process. Could you? I don't want to have you reiterate everything that was said, but just ballpark at what point in the process. I know it's a long process.
It's a long process. It's really a personal opinion, and here's our approach and our strategy, and you can see our numbers up here on the screen that we've helped a few people win over 11,000,
right,
which accounts for over $12 million going into individuals' bank accounts on a monthly basis as a result of the work that we do. And some people have used professional representation, and some people have chose to do it on their own. So here's our position with that is consistent with our strategy, which is we advocate that to get your benefits and get them fast, the key is to, first of all, speak with one of our advocates if you haven't done so already, so that they can help you tighten up your case. And I'm going to go into our Social Security Disability mini course here. One of the things that they will do is, in addition to helping you get the 4 key points together to get your application going or advances, they'll help you understand your options for applying for disability. And we always advocate that you do 2 things. You go through this mini course that we have up on the screen right here so that you understand how to use these lessons that are up on the screen to apply or advance your case. So for you, you'd be starting in Section 1B because you're just getting going. We also advocate that you'd interview with a Social Security disability representative about your case, and one that we would introduce you to that we worked with. A lot of these we've worked with for 6, 7 years. And we're not advocating that you would use the representative, but there's 4 things you're going to learn by going through an interview with them. And it's a free interview. You do it over the phone from the comfort of your own home. And this is the key here on how it will help your case. One is we understand the win percentage of the representatives that we use in our network. And they all win over 85%. But they all have been doing this for a long time. They all do more than, most of them do more than 30 cases a month, so they see a lot of this stuff. So if they said to you, geez, Ross, we'd be able to help you with your case, at least you know one pretty important thing. You got a shot at it. The second thing is...
I should at least bother.
Pardon me?
That I should at least go ahead and bother with it.
Well, right. And this is, of course, an opinion. And they might also say, Ross, geez, I'm awful sorry, man. You're not quite 50 yet. We don't see enough here to be able to prove that you can't do any job 5 days a week, 40 hours a week.
Right.
And
so they'll be straight with me about the
They'll be straight with you. Yeah. And you got to keep in mind that disability representative, attorney or non-attorney, they only get paid if they win your case, and they get paid a percentage of the back benefits they can recoup from Social Security for the amount of time that you've already been out of work. So they commonly put money in up front, and they get it back if they win. So they're very careful in the selection process. The good ones are. So
are you talking about attorneys, or are you talking about the advocates?
Yeah,
or I'm not the advocates, but the reps that you've worked with.
I'm talking about the representatives. Now, I'll just go through the 2 points and then remind me I want to address that. You've got some great questions here. The third key thing is because they understand the process and the medical side of this, they can often uncover or strengthen, conditions that people maybe don't think are important. Some people may have diabetes or insomnia, or people with chronic conditions often suffer from depression. And so those can be put into the case and strengthen the case. And the last key thing is the value of going through this, our strategy, speaking with the advocates and interviewing with the representative, is that a lot of people want to know what it would be like to have the monkey taken off their back, all the paperwork done, and have it done right from the very beginning. And so that they're going to know what that's like. So, and so with that said, to conclude, the strategy that's helped, all of these people that you see here, and there's God knows thousands more, is we advocate that you either go through the mini course, interview with a representative, and then compare both options and decide what's best for you. And you make the decision. So I'm answering your question with a very long explanation here, Ross. But
it makes sense. I understand a little. I have an idea of the bigger picture better than I did before. But the key right now is to be prepared to speak with that advocate. Excuse me, and they'll kind of guide me from there as far as if I need to go forward and interview with your representative of Social Security and kind of guide me through that, assess, evaluate, strengthen my case, what have you.
That's exactly it. So the key here is that we work very hard to do with yourself and others is we just want you to do it right. Because if you do it right, you're going to get through in the fastest amount of time. The most expensive mistake that people make is they just go online and they file an application. They don't have the medical records in there, not clearly communicating their condition and the limitations associated with it. And the downfall of that is, and it's covered in this interview right here, is that cases get put into the system with bad information in them, inaccurate information, and it's really no fault to a hardworking American that does it, because they don't know. They just don't know. Social Security doesn't teach people. But when you have that put into the system and you get denied, and then you've got to appeal it, and you've got to go to court, and then you go to court and you're in front of a judge, and the judge is looking at your applications, and he says, well, listen, man, it says back here that you said that you could, you could sit for 25 minutes, and now you say you can't sit for 25 minutes, and what's the difference? So what you say and what you put in that application needs to be accurate, and it needs to be in the right language so that your credibility is intact when you go in front of a judge. That's one of the key things.
And which of these people, from you to advocate to rep, is most important in getting me prepared, putting my case in most impressive order and such?
That's right, yeah.
No, I mean, which one? Would it be the advocate?
No, you want to speak with the advocate first. I mean, these folks are trained tour guides, and definitely, just fill out the form in this mini course right here, and yeah, it's free. They're paid. It's part of your membership. Definitely take advantage of it, and because then they can learn a little bit more about your situation, and they can say, okay, I understand who's going to be the best person for you to interview for, and let's say you need to reduce your medication costs, or you need to increase your treatment options. Well, here's a solution for you. Okay, you're concerned about having money to survive the wait, or your mortgage is tough and you're not able to shake it. Okay, well, this is check this out. So that is definitely the step. That's why the advocates are there.
Okay, I'll do that immediately.
Yeah, great. One other thing I wanted to mention is you had talked about when to get an attorney involved, and it's an interesting question. We have, I think, the public perception is that people that do this work are mostly attorneys. They're used to seeing the ads on TVs and such, but actually, in today's environment, most of the people that do, a lot of people that do this work, I shouldn't say most, are non-attorney representatives. And you do not have to be an attorney to do this work. And and even go to court and do this work in front of an administrative law judge. And we've found, based on results and approval results and the way businesses are run, that there's a lot of fantastic people out there that do this work that are not attorneys. So that being said, it's not, you don't have to run down the street and find an attorney. There's a lot of people that do this work that are non-attorney representatives that are actually held to a stricter standard than their attorney counterparts, in my opinion. I'm sure some would debate that.
Do you have a database, if it comes to that? Do you have a database of attorneys? I'm in South Carolina, for example. Do you have people that you've worked with before, if and when it comes to hiring an attorney?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we do. Most of them, the ones that we know, a lot of them we go and we meet with periodically, and we stay in touch with them on the members' progress and how things are going. So yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah. That's great. So anyway, well, listen, super questions. I appreciate you, explaining your situation to me, and yeah. So Christy, while you were listening to Ross, I was wondering if there was anything that I could address for you. Any questions? I mean, we are recording this, but anything that you want to address in general or that I can point out to you, I'd be glad to do so.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. My situation is that I have MS, and I applied in November or September and got denied in December. I have not. I have until February the 6th to do my appeal, and I have not contacted an attorney or an advocate yet to help me fill everything out. I've actually started with a relapse this past Sunday, and we'll be having an MRI in the next couple of days. So I wanted to find out I wanted to see how that MRI turned out before I did my appeal. So do you have any advice on what I should do for the appeal?
My first advice would be to win it, but that's just...
Brilliant.
That'd be nice.
May I ask a few questions?
Sure.
Okay, so when you applied in September, did you apply on your own?
Yes.
And when did you become a member with us here?
I'm not. I received the invitation through my email, and when I accepted when I went in to register for this, I haven't applied for membership at all yet.
Okay, well, when you register and you're on our email list, that's what we call a member. So I expect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to get a handle around is when you applied, did you use any of the lessons that we have in this mini course? Does any of this look familiar?
No, it does not. I did not.
All right. Okay, so for the next step, you're in what state again?
North Carolina.
Oh, you guys are neighbors, right? Did you say South Carolina, Ross?
I did.
Yeah, all right. So the next step is the reconsideration appeal. Is that what the paperwork is that you have?
Correct.
Okay, all right. And when did you stop working?
I went from 3 days a week to 1 day a week this past June, and but I am definitely not bringing in the $1,000 a month that would disqualify me. Okay,
so you're right now still working 1 day a week, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And you're under 1,000, what's 1,070, or I think it just went to 1,090 this year. Okay. All right. And in the denial letter, did they give you like the standard stuff like here's all your doctors and we don't find you disabled based on the regulations that we see?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you do for work?
Medical insurance for a doctor.
All right. And are you over or under 50?
Under.
Okay. How long have you done this type of work?
25 years.
Wow.
And I have worked every year since 1988.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely have enough credit.
Yeah, I would think so. Okay. Well, you're in a similar situation as your neighbor Ross as far as your age and what you need to prove. I don't know if you heard the beginning of our conversation today. So I know you arrived a little late about what you actually need to prove. Yeah. So here, you know, I'm going to just pull these stats up. This isn't, and I don't want to, you know, say these to discourage anybody, but you should be able to see my little red guy going on here. So there's 32% of the people out there that actually apply that end up getting their benefits. That's what this award thing shakes down to, and 2015 hasn't been published yet. And so there's a lot of people out there that go through the application process, 2.5 million every year, and if you think about it, you know, there's 32% of those that end up getting their benefits, and there's around 9 million that are on benefits now. So it may seem like I'm a little off topic, but my message is still the same, is that going forward here, my advice to you is I don't think it's necessary to wait for the outcome of an MRI. If you're not able to work and you believe that you've got medical evidence, which just sounds like it's in your line of work, you should certainly go forward and start getting the appeal information together. And when you did apply originally, Christy, did you submit medical records?
Well, when I sent the application, I put the doctors where I wanted them to request the records from, and they did request them and receive the records all but from one group.
Okay, well that's good. So what was the one group that they didn't receive the records from? How much of an influence do you feel they would have on the process?
Well, I actually have those, a hard copy of those records, and they always told me that it was arthritis in my back, but when I read through the records, they put sprain in there every time. But I have been diagnosed from a rheumatoid doctor that it is arthritis, and they did, disability did receive the records from that doctor, so I don't know that it's necessary that they get the notes from the past 13 years from the orthopedic doctor that I saw, since it doesn't specifically say arthritis, but I do have a CD with all of my x-rays from the spine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be good to get those in there. So, well, there's a few things that I'll say is, if you don't feel that you can do any job, which I'm not sure exactly what you're doing for work there is like what the sit-down, stand-up carrying requirements are, but I'm going to go back to the same comment that I said with Ross, is that if you don't believe you could be a greeter at Walmart or a ticket taker at a movie theater 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, and it's just not something, maybe you could do it 1 day or 2 or 3 days, or maybe for a week you could do it for 1 week, but not consistently, then you certainly should go forward with your appeal, and in doing so, you know, I would suggest that you start here in item 1C for your appeal process as far as the mini course is concerned, and really understand what you need to communicate about your condition and the limitations going forward, so that you can get that in there. Now, I do want to say this. In my experience in talking to disability attorneys and non-attorneys throughout, the United States, and as you can see, most of this mini course is made up with interviews from others that are really good at this in the industry, is it's difficult to win a case when somebody's working. And it's a double-edged sword. Well, it's probably more than a double-edged sword if there's such a thing. One is certainly people need the money. It's very difficult to go without money through the approval process. But from the Social Security perspective, Christy, when people are working and that's on the application and they see the income, then it just opens up a can of worms that, they say, well, if you're working in that job and if you had some reasonable accommodations, then I expect that there is some job out there that you could do. That's where it becomes difficult. So candidly, think about it. There's a couple ways to do it. I mean, if you could stop working, get your benefits approved. And if you're working a day a week, you could still go back to working a day a week after you get your benefits approved and keep your benefits. You can earn up to $770 a month now and still keep your benefits. So that's a few tips for you. Have you spoken and gone through the process of getting together with one of our advocates?
I have not.
Okay. I'd certainly suggest that, and go through the same process that I advised for Ross. They'll help you find whatever resources that you have. I'll answer any questions that you have in addition to what we've talked about here today. But I would do that. I would go through and complete the process of interviewing with a representative, comparing the option of doing the appeal process on your own, or consider using a representative and then decide what's best for you. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what is the fee for help from an advocate?
There's no charge. The service that we provide to you is no charge. All the work that we do here for your membership is of no charge. So we're like a radio or a TV station is what I explain it to people. We've got lots of good programming and strategies that are very effective, and there's some advertisements mixed in, and there's some sponsorship money mixed in. We get paid from Medicare. We get paid from some money from Social Security for doing this work. So that's how we're able to provide this for you.
Okay. So that's interesting that the government pays you because they don't want people to apply for disability.
Well, on the surface, it does, it does appear that way, but the program is there for a reason. I think the way it's twisted, I don't want to get off on a whole political tangent, but there's a lot of value to the program. It's not perfect, but there certainly is some value to it. Yeah. Yeah, you both have had great questions. Anything else that's on your mind that I can help you out with? I had you muted there for a minute, Ross, so I'll unmute you, but anything I missed?
I'm fine. I'm just listening right now.
Okay, great. All right, good.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
The longer I know that I have a deadline to do the appeal, but the longer that I wait and get closer to that deadline, do they look at that and say, oh, well, you must not really be, you must not really need it if you're waiting this long?
I don't know of any disadvantage to waiting. I don't.
Okay, and do you, is it better to mail it in or drop it off at the local office?
Whichever way you do it, make sure that you get an authorized return receipt and keep a copy of everything that you submit. That's critical. You need to keep a file copy. Yeah, things get lost. Yeah.
Okay, and what did you say? An authorized what?
Well, if you send anything via mail, ask for. I'm drawing a blank now, but what's the one where they got to sign for it? Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and if I, so the records that I have that I send in, I can send those in, and the CD, and just keep copies of them myself?
Yes, you can. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, I've got that information.
Do you have a caseworker that has been assigned to your case, Christy?
I do not. No, I don't. And I called up there to my local office yesterday to see if I could make an appointment, and they don't do that. That's what they said. You know, I think it just depends on the person you get. So if I get denied the second time, will they then make an appointment for me to come in?
Not that I know of. You usually have a caseworker that's assigned. I don't know of an appointment process, not to say that there isn't one. And some states operate differently than others, where you can go in and meet and work with somebody. At the initial application phase, you can. I do understand that you can do that, but to meet with a caseworker, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. I just had a question. I just totally forgot.
Well, that's all right. Perhaps it'll come back to you. Yeah. So, well, how about this idea? If you have a question, then you could certainly contact us via email, support@thedisabilitydigest.com. You could request a meeting with your advocate and certainly ask them and go through the strategy, which I encourage you to do. And you know, for the 4 reasons that I mentioned, before you do your appeal, I would definitely do that. And that should get all your questions answered and get you set up to move forward.
Okay.
All right. So Ross,
okay,
pardon me?
I was just going to say thank you.
You're welcome. And it looks like Ross has a question, and while I'm answering this, if your other question comes up, then let me know.
Okay, I sure will. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Brian. Just a quick question. You asked her and you asked me about being over or under 50. What happens after 50?
Oh, great question.
3.5 years away from it. You know, if this is going to take 3 years, I'm going to be knocking on the door at 50.
Right. So when you're over 50, the rules of the game change. They become a little bit more liberal, and you are looked at based on your age category of from 50 to 54 and then 54 to 59. In those categories, you looked at proving that you can't do a certain type of work and not the job, not any work. And a lot of that is based on your work history and how long you've worked in a job and what you have for transitional skills. So the key is that you don't want to be worrying about that, Ross, in my opinion, by the time you turn 50. You should you know, if you do this right either way and you meet the guidelines in the system, you should be able to get through, like, you know, we say a benchmark average of doing it right is around 18 months for initial applications. So, yeah.
Okay. I'll hold off and panic about that later if it comes to it.
Right, right. No need to worry now. So.
Okay, thanks.
Good. So, Christy, did you remember your question before we wrap up for the day?
I didn't remember my question, but I have another question.
Okay.
If when I was speaking with someone and filed the first time in September, she asked me when I went from 3 days a week to 1 day a week, and it was in June of 2014. Now, if this process does take 18, 24 months plus, will it go back to June of 2013, the benefit?
That's a good question. I hope that when she filed your application that's what she declared as the date that, you know, your disability started, or what they call as your alleged onset date of disability.
She did. I actually got confirmation of that.
Okay, super. So yes, they do. Would you like me to walk through how that works financially?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. I'll give you a general example. So you said June of 2014, okay? So with Social Security, the first 5 months that you're out of work, and I'm going to include June, which should be June, July, August, September, October of 2014, those are considered a waiting period where no back benefits accumulate. So after that, so what did I say, June, July, August, September, October. So November of 2014 was the first month after the waiting period that your back benefits started to accrue in this example. So let's say that your check is $1,000 a month, nice round even number. So $1,000 for November, $1,000 for December. We're in January now, so you've got, like, let's say there's $3,000 in back benefits if you were to miraculously win your case today. That's how it works. So it's important that, and Ross, for you as well, to pinpoint the earliest date of a disability, which is another thing that you can get accomplished with an interview with a representative, because it could be that for some people they have gone back to, they've stopped working and then they've gone back to work, and there is a stipulation that says if you stop working and it's less than 3 months and then you've gone back to work for, say, like less than 30 days, in an example like that, that you could, as a general rule, you could pinpoint that as the onset date of your disability would be the beginning of that 3-month period that you went back to work. So there's all those things, and that can mean a lot of money to people. I mean, that could be the, you know, it could be the difference of several months adding up.
Brian, my calendar is very different from Christie's in that back when I had my surgery, the calendar goes back several years since I've worked. Is that a good thing? Does that work against me?
Well,
do I need to find some kind of job to hit this $1,000 magical number?
How long have you been out of work?
Over 5 years, 6 years.
Oh boy. Okay, so
it's hard being a dentist. You're overqualified for everything else.
Right. Here's the first thing I would do. There's a general application rule for qualifying, and I'm glad you brought that up, because right here you can go in. I'll open it up. Pull it up. From the mini course at the very bottom below all the lessons, there's an account here where you can go in and set up an online Social Security account. When you log in there, you'll be able to see what your disabled benefit amount is. And as a general rule, if you've worked 50% or more of the last 10 years, then and paid taxes, then you meet that qualification criteria for Social Security. If you have not, then what could potentially happen for people that have been out of work, longer than 5-6 years, in some instances, their work credits have expired and they don't qualify for Social Security. And those are work credits that you're not able to get back, unfortunately. So,
okay. So what, in my situation, how can you compensate for that or accommodate for that? Because I'm beyond that time frame, so I'm not familiar with what the credits exactly mean. But since there's so much time, my eligibility does it still exist?
It may. There's no way of knowing for sure until you open up and log into that account. They used to send you these statements periodically that would say if you become disabled, in the mail. They were kind of green on the cover, and so they'd show you what you get when you retired. But a few years ago, they went green, and they don't mail those anymore. So the options are, if you don't qualify for that, then you wouldn't qualify for Social Security disability, and then the options are one that you mentioned: find something to do so you can build those credits back up. Find out what that is. And then the only other program that Social Security offers is one that's called SSI, or it's known as also welfare. And that's based on the same medical criteria, but also it's based on your assets. And in general, if you have assets of less than $3,000 as a couple, or $2,000 as an individual, you can qualify. And it's less money. You also get your Medicaid with it versus Social Security. You get your disability income, which is more, and Medicare. So it would be a shame if that had happened, and there's no way to know right now until you log on to that account right there. If you like, I can put it in the chat window for you in this meeting so that you have it.
Yeah, that would be good. Well, to clarify real quickly about the assets, I'm living in my wife's house. I mean, the house is in her name, but since we're living together, my understanding is that they're combined.
Right.
So if she's making, $60,000 or $70,000 a year, then that goes towards me.
That's right. That's right. That would put you over the limit for that program. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So are there any more programs?
No, those are the two programs. Yeah. The only third thing I can say is if you need to work and earn some money, most of this business is run by disabled. We have a job board. Go into the members area. We're growing fast, and the advocates that do the work that you would speak to are all individuals that came through and now work here. So that's my part of our commercial is we recycle the money that we make and we put people back to work with that, and maybe that's something, because you can work from your home, and we've certainly got reasonable accommodations.
Yeah, I figured it would come down to working at home. What would be my goal here? I don't know, the $1,000 cutoff, is that a monthly income? If it disregard where I'm living and the assets my wife has, what is this $1,000? If I'm making more than $1,000 in a month, then what?
Okay, so I believe your question is, if you are going to apply for Social Security disability, there is an earnings ceiling that if you're over $1,090 in 2015 a month, and that's net after expenses, or if you're employed, it's your and you wouldn't qualify for, you wouldn't be able to apply. Your earnings would be, would exceed the limit.
And that's when I would look to the SSI/welfare approach. Or finding a job do I want to find a job that gets me to $990?
Okay, okay. I
For
see
the
your
sake of
point
being
now.
employed.
So in your situation right now, there's a couple of ways to look at it. One is if you're going to apply for disability and you've got work credits to do it, and you're going to try to work through the process, like, you know, we just had the conversation with, we were just talking with Christy about, then you need to stay under the $1,090 a month. Those cases are still very difficult to get approved because you're working and you're trying to claim benefits that say that you can't work, right?
Right.
So the other situation is if you look at it and you find something that you can do for however many years it's going to take to restore your work credits, 4 years, 5 years, or something like that, then earn as much money as you can. It's better to work, really, than it is to collect your disability benefits if you can indeed work.
Do you mean just in theory as a ethical thing that it's better to work than to collect this, or do you mean that in order to apply for benefits it's better to have a job in hand?
It's better financially, really, because, you know, if you can work a job with reasonable accommodations, you can get over the $1,000, you know, $90 a month. So
What level, having been unemployed for so long, what level projected benefits, where would my ceiling be as far as the benefits? And I could compare that to what I would earn in whatever work-at-home job I could find, or any job for that matter.
I'm not.
You know, if I'm, go ahead.
Your question's not clear to me. Would you run it by me again? I want to make sure I get it.
Yeah. If I am rewarded benefits, considering my situation, I don't know if it would be based on earnings at the dentist prior to my surgeries, etc. But what would you project as being that monthly benefits that I would be rewarded? Because I could compare that ceiling, that number, to what I could earn by working at home in some strange job.
Oh, okay. Well, so everybody's disability check amount is different. And is that your question? What do you think your check amount would be?
Yeah, what would the check amount be? And that's how I could compare that to what my max earnings could be in some random position.
Okay. Well, if your work credit's expired, then you wouldn't have a check amount. Hopefully that's not the case. The average disability check is between $1,000 and $1,100. So let's say it's $1,100. You know, and it can be up as high as $2,600. I mean, if you have children that are under 18 and they're in the house, they get half the amount of your check until they're 18. The first one does. The second one, I believe, gets 25% of your check until they're 18. So
there are no kids, so we'll take that out of the equation.
Yeah. So that's, you know, that's what you're looking at. And certainly the Medicare piece is attractive, and you would be Medicare eligible now if you were to win your case, because you need to have, you know, been out of work for 24 months, which you've been out of work more than that.
And what ballpark is Medicare benefits? Again, I hate to pick it apart, but like I told you when we first started speaking, I'm in the infancy stage of it.
No, this is great. This is why we're here. So I appreciate your questions. So Medicare is Medicare Part A, and there's Part A, B, C, and D. With Medicare Part A, once you're approved, they deduct that premium out of your Social Security disability check, and it's around $100 a month. And then beyond that, if you want to get, you know, some people get a supplement with their Medicare Advantage plan to go with their Medicare. And that's optional, and the reason why they do that, you pay extra for it, is it allows them commonly to stay with their own doctors. That's one key reason.
Doesn't that seem to contradict the whole concept that if I'm able to pay for additional benefits, it seems like you're spinning your wheels. If you want to, I don't know how much more you would pay for the supplement that you mentioned, but if the supplement and what I would pay is about the same amount, what's the point?
Well,
you follow me?
Well, that's a good question. So let's throw the medications into it. And let's say you don't have the supplement, but you still need to pay for medications. And what you're paying for those medications, it would be a better deal if you had a supplement and they were included in the supplement. So I'm
going to have to research the whole supplement concept. This is brand new.
There's a lot of factors, and we have I can save you time, effort, and energy because we've got a whole course on it. So in the members area, and the members area is at the top of every one of our pages. If you scroll down here, 6C is a Medicare mini course, and if you register on this, just go through the registration process that I'm showing you here. We have a series of interviews that we've broken the whole thing down into baby steps.
Okay, that's great. That's where I'll start.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks. I'm
You're
sure
welcome.
I've got a list of several questions, but right now I haven't educated myself enough to ask those questions. So maybe next time.
I would put Medicare as a secondary priority because in order to get Medicare, you need to get your disability income or be 62. So and so neither one of those are. We've got to get those figured out first. Okay.
Okay. And again, your reps will reiterate what you're saying and walk me through this once I do know more about it. Okay.
Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Brian.
You're very welcome. Yeah. Okay. Christy, are we all good?
Quite a webinar.
I did have one other quick question. Would it be advantageous for me to get a note from my employer stating that I've gone from full-time to 3 days a week to 1 day a week? Would that help in my case at all?
Have they provided any type of reasonable accommodations to keep you or try to have you work more?
Well, it's a strange situation. I've worked for the doctor for 20 years, and he's retiring in September. And so I've told them a while back that they can hire someone to take my place, or I can work from home because I have so much fatigue. When I am at work, I sleep during my lunch hour. And if there's any other times that I'm not able to work anymore because I'm so tired, they will let me, go sleep in my car or shut my door and sleep in there.
Yeah. Information like that would certainly be helpful.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think that's all that I had.
Okay, great. Well, listen, I want to thank Ross, Christy, our Carolina contingent today, for coming out and placing your trust in us to invest some time and attend this webinar here. So hopefully you found some value in it. And if you have, here's what I'd like to ask: is if you know some people that we can help. There's a tell a friend button up here, or you can just tell them to come over to the Disability Digest, and we'll help them out. And I ask that for this reason: the more members that we have here at the Disability Digest, we've been fortunate enough to help about 128,000 people with all kinds of issues, from jobs to helping people find housing and their checks are right and all that stuff. But the more members we have, the more sponsors, the more advertising we have, the more money we can make, the more jobs we create for our members, and the better services that we can provide. So again, if you find value in this event, spread the word and tell others so we can keep building what we're doing and help everybody out. Okay?
Absolutely will. Sure.
Fantastic. So, all right. Well, thanks to both. It's been a pleasure spending some time with you. Make it a great day.
Thanks,
All right.
Brian.
Thank you
Take
for your
care.
time.
Bye, Christy.
Bye-bye. Good luck.
You too.